is this? Oh, okay. 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 If you say so. Okay. Okay, first things first. Alright. Just gonna put that there. Get some nice. Don't do that. Don't do that. You have to cover stuff. Okay. Get something nice and normal. In here, okay, so April. It's gonna be a long one, so you better strap on. Okay, space. April has a lot of space stuff in it, which is kind of cool and also terrifying. Okay. Victor 7. Victor 7 has been designated by Skywatch. What's really interesting about that is that it seems to have been made at Able Base. So the aliens are manufacturing new ships to go places. Skywatch is fairly certain that this one was made at Able Station because apparently the emissions and stuff from it aren't exotic. They could be made locally, probably. They're not 100% certain, but it is a very high possibility. So there are going to be a lot more of these. Earth can look forward to a constant dribble of alien crashes. Just that's your weather now. You're going to get a weather forecast of. Okay, today we have a nice leaf. A chance of crashing somewhere on Earth. But how often? People have sort of worked it back, and there seems to be a general pattern of if the aliens are producing a ship and just sending it out, or not just kind of hanging them around and keeping them back. Just weird in the case of two of them because they seem to be arriving at the same time, but they didn't launch from the same position. They're actually separated by quite a bit, so we're not sure if these are coming from out of system, because they're separated by a lot. But they could hit at the same time. It's really concerning. But they estimate that about every 2 months there seems to be some sort of contact that's inbound. If you rewind things back, we expect something to arrive about every 2 to 4 months. More recently it's been 4, but one of those is a double, and we're not really sure what's going on with that one. So about every 2 months. So half a dozen a year are just going to show up and litter stuff on the Earth, I guess. Trashy. Anyway, that's what the aliens are doing, apparently. The people are the humans. We're not standing still, which is nice. We were already going to do a return to the moon. That was scheduled for a little while from now. It's the Artemis project. Um, that's going faster. Congress took up a bill, and they're like, yes, yes, make that go faster. You can do that, right? If we just write you checks, just how much money do you need? How much do you need? Brrr, make it go now. So they do. Sails through Congress. Artemis is funded, well funded, and being accelerated at a rapid pace. Not sure when exactly the mission is yet. I may have skipped over it. I had a lot of things to keep track of this week. But Artemis is going to be going to the moon. Um, there was an interesting experiment done by a. This is how weird the world has become. NASA and China did a joint experiment with CubeSats, like not huge pieces, but substantial. And they did an experiment where off of a space station they, assembled some of the pieces, um, remotely docked them together and welded them up into more permanent pieces and showed how, in principle, you could do spaceship construction. They made a little sort of spaceship where the engine had to be put in and then fuel tanks inserted and secured and stuff like that. And it went really well. It went really well. So that's promising. But why China? Why China? Well, you see, because the International Space Station was deemed too important to risk on the experiment should something have gone wrong. And I kind of understand that. But the United States really wanted to get this done, and NASA needed a platform. So the ISS was out. But the Chinese have the Tiangong. So they partnered with China and did the experiment there because the ESA wouldn't sign off on risking the International Space Station. So that's interesting. China's response, I haven't really talked about China that much. That's because there's not much coming out of China. Ever since this all started, China has gotten really quiet. Like, really quiet. I mean, there's still stuff coming out of it, but there's no official position from China. China isn't telling anyone any direction that they're going. They are just kind of walking up into their little tower and just sort of watching what everyone else is doing. But they have a space station, so they get cooperation from the United States and they get useful scientific data out of it. So good for them. Good for us? Question mark. But the ESA had other projects that it was doing. It wasn't in space necessarily, but apparently, way back in January, before even Victor 2 showed up and crashed in China, they partnered with Elon Musk's SpaceX. See, ESA decided that it wanted the European Space Agency. I keep saying ESA, I don't know if I've explained that. They wanted something that they could use on site as a space base. basically. They wanted something that could recycle materials, support a crew over a long period of time with minimal injections of new resources that would be airtight, obviously, um, but have all of the protections that it needed to keep a crew safe for a very prolonged period of time. Of course, we don't have a very long time to actually test it, so they tested it between January and April. Took a crew of volunteers, 15 people, kind of a lot. Um, Musk had a prototype because ESA's like, yeah, when can you have this? Because we wanted it last year when things started happening. And Musk's like, well, I have this. We could try this. So they did. And it also turned out very well. At least it seems like it. The line from the official statement, I believe, was the isolation was successful with an acceptable loss in supplies. So it's not perfect, but it's a good step in the right direction. So I guess that's positive. Um, so maybe space bases, moon bases, Mars bases. I mean, obviously that's why Elon had this. Clearly. So, pretty good progress for the month. Good news for humanity. That's good. What else we got? The United States. The United States seems to be slowly getting itself calmed back down from everything. So, the media, I don't know how to describe this. The media feels less bombastic, more calm, sedate, matter of fact presentation. It's like watching old news broadcasts, but with better production quality. It's interesting. Kind of jealous. I kind of want that. Well, it's not happening here. Not yet. Probably isn't. I don't know. Maybe it takes aliens to shock the news media out of whatever. I mean, there's like still celebrity gossip. It's not like all Walter Cronkite or whatever all the time. No, it's just a little more chill, a little bit more understanding for domestic politics, and a little bit less polarized, and a little bit more okay. Yeah, we're a united entity, a United States, a united people, a united humanity, and we're in this together because there's something out there. So, that's of course not what's going on in the actual politics, because of course, that's already in the election run-up season. There's Biden's running again. A lot of people aren't happy about that. On the Democrat side, on the Republican side, Trump's running again. A lot of people aren't happy about that. On every side, as near as I can tell, but whatever. It's the too old thing. It's the too old thing again, and yeah, I don't know. Biden did have that really good speech. He did, with the Space Force and the declaration of the Human Autonomous Zone and the freedom of space enforced by the United States, and that was, I mean, that's probably going in history. I mean, assuming we survive the aliens, that's probably going in history. but it doesn't work all the time. It worked with that particular instance. But for his campaigns and stuff, I mean, serious and somber, he still has that energy, but it's not jazzing people up, nor is his age. There's nothing to be jazzed up about that. So Trump has some jazz. He's pushing the envelope on humanity. First level of rhetoric, not quite. I mean, he stays back across that line, in my opinion. Doesn't keep people from calling him a firstist. That's the word again. So he just doesn't hit the same though. Like, I saw a comedy routine, and it's like, Trump, he doesn't know what these aliens are. He doesn't know if they're sending their best. And somehow, big, beautiful space wall just doesn't hit the same. It doesn't. It's got a point. But Congress is actually behaving a lot better. Congress, the the Speaker of the House, the head of the Senate, and so on and so forth. There's been one or two times where their party or whatever, even if the older people on the leadership on both sides are sort of united on a thing. There was one time where the rest of Congress was just like, no, we're not doing that, and it just failed. There was a standoff for a little while. A political logjam, I guess they call it. I don't know. Where some of the younger sort of sub-factions in Congress wanted this thing to be brought to the table, and the leadership wouldn't put it on the agenda, and the rest of the people just refused to let anything pass until it got brought to the floor. And a week goes by. That's a long time for, well, it isn't. I mean, Congress takes forever to do anything, but it's also, Congress wants to keep doing things, or at least look like it's keeping doing things, so just like, no, for a week is it looks bad. Especially when the leadership is pushing for it. They eventually had to cave in, and the other people got their way. So, yeah, something's changing. It is now becoming rare or exceptional to have straight party line votes. What? That hasn't happened for I don't know if that's ever happened. Yeah, it's weird. I like it a lot, but it's weird. Wish, again, I could get some of that. Maybe, can I get some of that, but without the alien stuff? They don't look like ribs. Anyway, what else is going on? Oh, Iraq. Yeah, I had to learn this from Al Jazeera because U.S. talking about that's not happening. That's not happening. Nobody in the U.S. wants to talk about this. Not the media, not the politicians, not news commentators, not even in some respects the social media, not the social's full of it anyway because everybody's like, America, what are you doing? Point and laugh. The Iraqi government, such as it is, completely collapsed. The nation borders of Iraq have been divided up into this warlord, that warlord, whatever, and they're kind of fighting with each other and, trying to solidify, okay, this is mine, this is yours, they're working this out. And the United States is doing nothing. Nothing. They're just quietly saying, shh, packing up all their toys. Not like Afghanistan. Packing up all their toys. And they're slowly moving them back to the United States. They're taking their ball and their helicopters and their other pieces of military equipment and so on and so forth. And their translators that help them and so on. And they're going home. But they're not telling anyone about it. Because it looks bad. Honestly, it looks way better than Afghanistan. Maybe this is what should have happened in Afghanistan. Same administration. Maybe the Biden administration's like, right, let's not do that again. Let's not actually do that again. Let's do this right this time. And they seem to be. So that's good. Also, maybe because of what was done in Afghanistan, the warlords, while they're fighting each other and doing some terrible stuff, they seem to be leaving the United States leave. Nobody's attacking U.S. citizens. They don't even seem to be going after the translators, which is interesting. Maybe clearly, there's the internet and stuff like that. They would have seen what happened in Afghanistan. And one of the things that the administration showed very clearly is like, okay, you let us leave, we're not going to hit you back. You do something, like there's a terrorist attack or something like that, and we're going to reach in and push the ninja missile and kill some leaders. It's going to cost you. And it seems to be working here. So it's not pretty. It's not pretty. People are really mad because, again, we spent a lot of time on Iraq. A lot of time and other things. But it's gone now. Let's talk about Russia. Russia's freaking me out. They had that whole announcement where there was the whole orthodoxy thing where the aliens arriving are a sign of Russians' reascendance, the proof of the righteousness of the motherland, and it's propaganda. It's weird, whatever. So that's kind of escalated a lot. Russia has been not doing that well in Ukraine over the past couple months. This month, something changed. Starting last month, sort of. They pulled back, but then they started attacking in small groups, almost at random. Like here near Sumy, down here near the Donbass. Like, there's this group out of Crimea. It hits, it comes back. Like, here's an incursion from Belarus, and then, it hits, it comes back. It's keeping Ukraine safe, but it is also keeping them off balance. They have to defend their entire border because they're not sure where the next attack is going to come from. And it's kind of screwing with things. Well, it goes along. Ukraine kind of gets its balance, gets its borders in the, secured and stuff, gets a punch ready, masses up, and it punches through in the Donbass region. and it's kind of looking like the Kharkiv collapse, where the Russians up in Kharkiv like started disintegrating, falling back, and so on. Kind of looks like that, except the front doesn't collapse. The Ukrainians are finding the Russians still manning their lines, even though they're coming. The Ukrainians have punched through and are looping back around at them from the other side. They have to spend the time to go and clear these people out because they aren't collapsing. They aren't reacting to anything. And there's these weird videos of Ukrainians collecting Russian soldiers, and they're like high or something. They're fighting, you have to disarm them and stuff, but they're just laser focused on defending this exact point from that exact direction. And but if you get behind them, you can just kind of like collect them up, and they're disoriented, and they try to run back to their position. Like, they're not trying to escape, they're trying to stay where they were assigned. It's like they've been, I don't know, like just hypnotized, or like they're in some fugue dream state, and it's kind of creepy. And then the creepiest part is like the Ukrainian infantry is like, what is going on? So they're like, but it's easy, so they're cleaning up, rolling up the line. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian fast forces are pushing further down the road to try to capture the logistics and stuff like that. Maybe they'll double the size of their tank force again. Who knows? So they're doing that, and the creepiest thing, sort of, even though this should have been happening the entire time, you would think, but Russia actually makes the first successful, well-coordinated, sort of combined force counteroffensive with proper air cover, multi-dimensional proper air cover, and ground attack, doing a counterattack with armor escorted by infantry, and it tears up the Ukrainian column. It's broken. It has to retreat. The lines that had been rolled up have to be regressed from, and because the Ukrainians have to go back to their defensive line. They do shoot down some of the Russian Air Force because, they do have anti-air there, but it is costly. And everybody's like, where did this come from? Where did it come from? Where has it been the entire war is maybe the better question, but why? But that happens. It's not good for Ukraine because, they're stuck back on the defensive again at the end of the month. A lot of people have died and not much has changed. So, war, whatever, right? No. It's okay. The creepiest thing. Creepiest thing is that after this successful thing, there's celebration, victory. They didn't win the war, but big victory, celebration, Moscow, St. Petersburg. And there's some footage from it. The West isn't showing it, but you can see it on social media, and everything's still censored from Russia. But you can see it on social media. See it on Telegram, particularly Telegram. And it's everybody's enraptured, like high, euphoric. Not entranced like the soldiers were, but just like really out there, and I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but the strangest thing I saw was this Orthodox priest who was going around blessing soldiers and stuff. There was a whole procession. Um, and we've seen this before. Like, I mean, the Orthodox priests. So there's footage of this happening, like even now. Um, you know, before the invasion or around the invasion, stuff like that. And this is the same thing. There's some military. There's a military procession in the street during the parade. People going off. And there's tanks and stuff. I mean, whatever. But it's the priest and his thing. The Orthodox priests, they have this censer thing. I don't know how to spell it. It kind of sounds like censor, but it's a brazier of incense that burns. Like it's kind of like a vape, but not a vape. It's just going all the time, and you swing it back and forth, and it puts this incense, this smell. Um, it's a spiritual thing, and it's this one. It was different. It was on the end of a metal chain. Yeah, okay, but it seemed to be like like the usual sensor thing, except like and there's smoke coming out of it. But I swear it had like these purple violet things basketed around it, like woven, like a basket weave instead of the usual gold. They're usually gold. And out of the bottom there were these red tassel things. And, it didn't move quite right. Like I don't think it was a Photoshop either, or like a deep fake, or they moved, but they swung weird. Um, I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all, and the people were acting so strange. Like I don't know. All right, that's enough of that. That's definitely enough of that. I don't need to be able to see. I can see now.